Hello, I'm a gust of wind. This is Into the Toad. Today I'm grateful for everything that has happened to me. There's been a lot of exciting things, there's been painful things, there's been awe-inspiring things, and it's just been this constant flow. I wasn't always able to see it, and I certainly wasn't always able to be grateful. This I'm grateful for being able to be grateful. It's a blessing. And that's why I do these talks to just let people know that it's possible. I don't know if it will matter. That's really not my concern. I do these talks as just part of my daily lifestyle routine, just enjoying being alive, and some of it's spent by myself, and I'm thinking about my life and I want to share it. I In my little universe, it's been a dramatic Hollywood movie, and I hope you're able to see the drama in your own life because it's there already. For me to be able to appreciate everything that's happened to me required that I go all in. I take risks, and I take the medicine. Medicine gives you what you need always. You don't always know what that's going to be. Medicine is challenging, but you can't screw it up. You can't do it wrong, and I believe it is here to heal us. It's one of many things in our world that are for our benefit. That goes all the way back to our juxtaposition among the planets, our distance from the sun, the percent of nitrogen in our atmosphere, the structure of our atmosphere, the texture of the dirt, the nature of the stones and the rocks and the mountains, our teeth, our feet, our fingers, our stomachs, our eyes, the sunset, the smell of ripening fruit in summertime. Every single thing is perfection for us. That's why I'm grateful. And my opinion on all the things that have happened to me does not apply. If I let having to watch the person I love most on earth die a slow and painful death, if I decide that that's unfair to me, it's not even happening to me, but I'm deciding that it's unfair, it's unjust. I'm angry, I'm bitter, I'm fed up with all this. I'm shaking my fist at the Lord. If I let that take over, then I miss all of it. I'll never see it. I'll never see what's actually happening. You can't put yourself between you and reality. And we all do it. That's where I come from. I am not critical of the depressed and the anxious and the weak and the confused. I that is me. I am all these things. And now I'm at peace. Now I'm happy. It's another thing. And it rolls. And tomorrow something else will come. It's not for us to judge. And if we can see the perfection and the beauty, which is, I mean, it's right here. It's hitting us over the head with its boldness. We get a glimpse of it. It changes the game. That's what the toad does. It throws you right into reality. This is what is happening. This is what you are. This is what this place is. And it can't be spoken about. If you are fortunate enough to be shown that and to accept that and to see that, you can't explain it. We are sensitive instruments. And it's funny because our capacity for refusing to acknowledge that is astounding. Look at the lifestyles people can live. When I was backpacking as a young man, I was in a hostel in London and made friends with a guy who, in the morning, we all had to wake up and work labor jobs. We were up at like 5 a.m. and drinking all night in one of those scenarios. A lot of fun when you're in your 20s. And this dude, we shared a room. There was a bunch of bunk beds in each room. And he would, and again, this is a long time ago. Rules have changed. He would grab for a cigarette and light it before the lights were on, before he opened his eyes, before anything else happened. That was our alarm clock in that room in those days for a very brief little window of time in my adventures. And even as a young man, drinking every night and just being completely foolish in everything I did. Even then, I was like, boy, that's that's pretty extreme. Like, he doesn't even want to breathe when he gets up. And I've run into a lot of people like that in my adventures where the capacity for things is so different than mine. Alcohol is another one. I know people who can absolutely, just because of a chance meeting, have a drink or two in the middle of a morning or an afternoon or any kind of day and carry on with their day. Whereas for me, if I ingest alcohol in my body, and this is going to sound like I'm some kind of teetotaler, I have abused drugs and alcohol most of my life. Um, but it changes my gear. If I'm going to have a drink, then I'm going to be drinking. And so I know people who can drink more than me, drink every day, and still I bump into them on a Saturday, 11 a.m. Hey, how are you? Hey, let's grab a drink. And they do that, have a couple of drinks, and then they go on with their day. I don't understand it. It doesn't change their routine. They have a capacity for these things. I know drug addicts who are my age. So we've turned into old people and they're still drug addicts. The psychic effort required to maintain that heroin I'm talking about specifically is ungodly. It's the darkest place I've ever been. And I have a friend who's been there for his whole life. And I always wondered if we could tap into his true powers and just point him at something else, what he would be capable of. We look at in our society, It's just exploit, 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 take, 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 ingest, 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 consume, consume, consume. But if you cross that line, oh, now you're the drug addict, or you're outside of the norm of the social convention of you're allowed to get drunk every night, but you make jokes about it, but you still have to work and do your hair. Like there's certain rules. And me and the people I've know in my life, I never conform to those rules, even when I was in the job and society and that walk of life. Now I run my own business where I still have to conform to certain standards and rules, but I can also remove myself from those situations pretty easily and just have somebody else go. And it's a joy. And I'm glad that I have that ability because I could see these conventions and this adherence, this forced adherence, and it just didn't make sense to me. And here's my friend who you can't be further outside of social convention than he is. We were wild animals when we were hanging out a lifetime ago. And he has had to grow old in this society with this 1,000-pound gorilla on his back every 2 hours, 3 hours. It's crawling up there again. He can probably, and I don't know his day to day. I just know of that substance and that life. And and he has a capacity for it. For me, it took everything. It almost killed me. And it was one of these situations in life where you see all this. I was so difficult to maintain it that I was failing at it so that I could succeed at something else. Um, I have a friend who has allergies to a million different things. It's a minefield for him to eat or drink anything. And as he's evolved and grown old with this, he's come to realize this is an internal navigation system to keep him on a certain line. He doesn't need to venture off into the food and drink and all those pleasures. And that's not him. And this is going to control his options, which, if just accepted and dealt with head on, makes him a healthy, strong person. So the people that are able to live the life of an addict with a heavy drug, they have a capacity for tolerating that, those dark times, all the, it's just a never ending barrage of horror. And I've known a few of them that even as they get older, that it's still acceptable. It's still tolerable somehow. Fascinated by that and grateful for what I've learned about my own guardrails, my own compass, my own pitfalls, my own capacity. That definition has informed my decisions and judgment as I have looked to become happy and peaceful. Certain that can mean different things for different people. Uh, Alan Watts is one of my heroes, and I know he understood what life is, and he appreciated it. He was grateful for it, and he was happy and intelligent, and he brightened a lot of lives. And he died before I was born, but my understanding is he was drinking and smoking every day. And I just don't understand that. I think about that generation right before mine, maybe two before me or whatever. I was born in the 70s. I always thought about Frank Sinatra, who was when I was a teenager, he was old and still doing things, but way past his prime, but he was still in the public eye and smoking and drinking. And you just see him on Johnny Carson, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's what people do. Then I got older and I smoked and drank and grew up and monitored my health and recognized my own capacities. And I'm thinking, how is this 65-year-old dude smoking and drinking every day? How is that possible? And I don't know anything about Sinatra, but I don't think he was enlightened in the sense that he made an effort to go into himself to find out what this life was about. I think he had clarity in what he could do, and he wanted fame and money and all that stuff, and there's no harm in that. Whereas Alan Watts, I feel like I know where he was coming from. When I had listened to him speak, he was speaking to me. I encountered him at the same time I encountered the toad, and as I got deeper into the toad, I got deeper into the the talks of Alan Watts. He's got the books are okay too, but I like his voice. I want him to talk to me, and he actually inspired me to go down the route of what I'm doing right now, rather than have to sit in the quiet and write it all out, which I also do, but rather unsuccessfully, and it's not as pleasurable as just talking about it. And how can someone find this peace and happiness and joy and fill themselves with poison all day long? I know it doesn't matter, but a lot of my decisions are based on maximizing the pleasure. And and I know about pleasure. I That's how I met heroin. It was great pleasure until it wasn't. And cocaine and meth and alcohol and marijuana and opium and Xanax and Percocet and OxyContin, and it goes on and on and on. I grabbed as many things as I could, looking for the perfect one, which I thought that's would be an external thing. I would have to find it. And I come to find out that that's not the case at all. Those aren't real pleasures because there's an expiration date, or they're, like Eric says, you're taking from tomorrow with that pleasure. You're robbing yourself of tomorrow. And when I did the toad, it it rocked me, it shook me, it left me unnerved, confused, legs wobbling, but it let me experience pleasure, the kind of pleasure that lasted for weeks. And the only consequence side effect was I wanted to maintain it. How do I keep this? And that's why I say that the toad is the only thing that exists. Because when you encounter that sensation, you're starting to understand what you are. You're starting to understand where you're going. This is where we belong. This type of bliss and joy and peace and serenity, silence, it's where we live. It's where we came from, and it's where we're going. And in this world, we can get involved in all kinds of mischief, and we can start a business. We can train to be a professional athlete, or uh, enter some kind of vocation that requires extreme concentration and diligent effort. We can do all these things. We have physical abilities and intellect, and this world is our domain. We can change it. We can add to it, take away from it. It's exciting. It's it's so amazing. I don't understand how I was depressed. What was I in those days? Which far outnumber these days. I don't know. For me, the toad would not have. it's all been arranged and engineered and it's all perfect. I don't question how things transpired. But when I look at how old I was getting into this, middle age, we would call it, it makes sense. I wasn't able to perceive this and to appreciate this and to accept this and to adapt to it in my younger days. I remember having this constant flow of energy coming at me. So as soon as the day started to wind down, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I was starting to get energized. I need to get into something. Alcohol is the number one thing that's going to be in this scenario tonight. But what else is there? I got all kinds of energy. When I was working in London, just labor jobs, I walked into a construction site, ended up getting a real job and a couple promotions. Next thing you know, I'm making decent money, but I'm working 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week with a bunch of Irish laborers. That's who ran the building sites there. And they were rowdy. And so was I. So as soon as, quitting time came, let's go party. And we would go. I remember one Christmas time, we went out drinking on a pub crawl and just kept going and going and going and ended up in Covent Garden. And they had decorated everything for Christmas. There was this huge Christmas tree in the center of town, and we scaled the wall to get into it. And then we climbed the tree. And as we were at the top of the tree, the cops came and flashed the lights and everything, and a crowd gathered. And we tried to get down, and one of my friends jumped from the tree. I thought he was, I mean, it was too high to jump from, but he landed and rolled and climbed the wall and sprinted out of there. And I ended up getting caught and arrested and spent some time in jail. And then when I left jail, they said, you're not welcome back in England. I have since gone back to England with no problem. So I'm assuming it's no big deal now. But that's the kind of shenanigans that I was always getting into. And by then I got into the heavy drugs, and then I met the drug dealers, and then all of a sudden the stakes changed. And I was still the same, let's just get into shenanigans, but I was in different circles. And then I got into real trouble and did some real time in the US, not state time, but got sentenced to 1 year in county jail and had to adapt to that and look at that and accept that and look at the way that the people that love me looked at me after that. It never dawned on me that I had crossed some line and become shameful, or I was still rolling in this constant flow of energy. But now thinking about what my mom must have thought of those days, knowing where she came from and knowing how she saw the world, I think much better than I do now, than I did then. I mean, uh, it's it's heavy. It's heavy, and I'm grateful for all of it because heavy's okay. Heavy's okay. Heavy's necessary. Um, the toad, when I first did it, the first weekend I met, there was a Native American man who told me a little bit about it, and he said it's been around among his people forever, as long as anyone can remember, but they lost touch with it. They didn't have practitioners anymore. So he found Eric, this same guy that I found to administer the medicine, and this guy was grateful for the connection, and he was the first person I met that had zero fear of death, of the medicine, of whatever was going to transpire. He wanted to feel good, and that's how he took it. And I watched him take it and not want to return to this world. And he had his daughter with him who was 19 years old, and she took it, and she was another, just no fear, let's do this. And I was so shocked because I was coming from completely the opposite side of the arena. I was, everything was fear to me, especially this. And he told me the next morning, I saw him at the house getting coffee, and I said, how do you feel? And he just stood up and smiled and said, open. And then he told me a little bit about the medicine. He said, this is heavy medicine. There's only one heavy medicine. You have ayahuasca, you have LSD, you have psilocybin. You have a lot of natural medicines, a lot of plant medicines, they call them. This is an animal medicine. It's a different caliber. And I've done the only other animal medicine that I know about is called Combo, which comes from a frog in the Amazon jungle. And that is a legitimate medicine, which gave me a lot of healing. It's a story for another time, but it's real. And you almost feel like you're going to die when you're in it. It requires you to show up. That medicine experience is more about what you're going to do with it. And after you do it, you see what you were willing to do. And it just applies to what you want in life. You just realize this is going to be up to me. I've never had an experience with anything else like that where it was just because the toad makes you grow up. You can't be pointing fingers anymore. You own your little world. You know you do. You can't lie to yourself anymore that it's not fair, that it's somebody else's fault, that they're being treated more fairly than you are. That stuff doesn't work anymore. You grow up. But with Combo, I could see the path to everything that I wanted. I wanted a strong body, and I'm not a young person. And most of my thoughts were there's limits. I can't be that type of body anymore. I can't be that type of strong anymore. There was just this knowledge in me that there were certain things that weren't going to be possible. And I did the Combo and I came out and said, that's not true. Because if I do this path right here, it's at the end of that path. This is the thing that I have to do to get there. It's the path is there. And I'm going to stop fooling myself saying that I'm too old or that I don't have time or whatever because I can't lie anymore if I can see the path. I can see how to get there. And that applies to wherever I want to go. That medicine just opened up the avenues to everything I was considering. But it's not a heavy medicine. There's only, and LSD is not a heavy medicine. And psilocybin's not a heavy medicine. And there are going to be people who say, hey, I've done those things and I lost my shit. I almost died. I didn't even know my own name. It took me months to, like, I know it's real. I understand that. And I've done those medicines too. And they are, they can be fear inducing. They can be life changing. They have power. They have a purpose and they heal. And you can see a trend here in all these medicines that heal. There's trepidation with all of them. This healing thing is not the way we heal in our modern society, where you either just take something and feel good or take something and don't feel anything at all, but the doctor tells you that it's working. If you take something and it makes you feel like you're going to melt into the earth and die and evaporate forever, they'll change the dosage. You're not supposed to feel that. Whereas in medicine, in real medicine, that is where we're going. You have to get through this grip of yourself to just get to step one, just to begin. The good news is the amount of healing that's involved in getting to step one is enormous. A lot of illness and disease and sapped strength, depression, anxiety, fear, a lot of this comes from that grip that you think you know what you are. You're going to make sure certain things don't happen. You're in control. This is what you want. This is what you don't want. All of this is hazy. You really can't even define. I know for me, I couldn't even tell you what I was afraid of before I got into my first step with the toad. I didn't know. I knew I was afraid because I was shivering and quaking and crying. But I think if somebody would have said, "Are you afraid?" I probably would have had some kind of wise remark. And then if they would have said, "What are you afraid of?" I would have said, "Well, I'm afraid the medicine's going to hurt me and it's going to, break my mind and I'll be incapacitated. I'll have ruined." this gift I had of intellect, of being able to experience the world and talk about the world and write about the world. I will lose that. And I almost did lose it in my last relapse before this, just a few months earlier, of my body not being able to bounce back from taking drugs. And there was 13 days and 13 nights of no sleep for me. That's not supposed to be possible. And I'm not interested in calling the Guinness Book and trying to get some kind of validation of my experience. I know what happened. I agonized through every living second of those days. And on the last one, just trying to get outside of my house and walk in the sun and trying to move my body, I had the realization that I had broken my mind. I was ruined. This threat from my earliest days of this is what drugs are going to do to you. I did it. I had broken myself and there was no repair. I couldn't sleep and I was going to die. That much I knew. So it seemed reasonable that that could happen to a higher degree, getting into some crazy medicine that, I mean, people who had heard about it, their eyebrows would just go up and say, oh my God, the bufo? You don't want to mess with that. I mean, William Burroughs, who I followed early in my life as I read the Beat Generation writers and read about travel and read about what a man was supposed to be. I stumbled onto William Burroughs and Naked Lunch and everything else about being a junkie and being proud of being a drug addict because there was something else in it that no one else was recognizing. And he managed to do it to his into his 80s. So he figured out some way to, because he had that capacity for it, but it was not going to be for me, and I didn't know that at the time. So um, it misled me a little bit, or I allowed it to mislead me. And in his writings, he talked about psychedelics. He spent a considerable amount of time going into the jungle looking for the real medicine that he'd heard about. And I often wonder if he had actually heard about the toad. He never found the toad. He found ayahuasca, um, which I've heard people say that the toad is the other side of ayahuasca, to give you some understanding of the difference between these two medicines. Um, Burroughs said that he would get on, and he had money, so he was like an explorer, um, funded and looking for this medicine. And he would take these little prop planes into the Amazon jungle and land somewhere that maybe a plane had only ever landed a couple of times before. And he said the tribes would come out and surround the plane and they would be in awe of this machine. And they would feel the metal and look at the blades in the propeller and the glass in the windows. And they're just like in awe, except one dude. He said there would always be one man standing aside who, when he found him, he would look, the guy was looking straight into his eyes. He was not fooled by anything else. He wanted to know the human, the energy, the spirit that was coming. He really didn't care about how they got there. That would be the medicine man, he said, the shaman. I don't know how it works in the tribes. I know people who live in tribes who come from there, and they've told me that they don't even use the word shaman. And there is no such thing as a medicine man. There's a guy who administers medicine because the tribe needs it, but they don't really ascribe superpowers to him. Um, and those tribes, from what I understand, you're the super. You come to the medicine. You bring the superpower to the medicine, and you decide that you're going to heal, that you're going to find peace, that you're going to get what you need. You show up, and the combo medicine is like that. You can show up and do nothing and suffer a great deal, or and that's what I did until I started to feel. I did it 3 days in a row, and I started to feel, oh, okay, I'm being given an opportunity here. That's how I woke up on that third day. with this realization that, first of all, I don't want to do it again. It's so awful. It really is the worst feeling you can have. And it seems to last forever. And there's no way out of it except to drink water. And if you drink the water fast enough, the medicine works with the water and you will purge this bright lime green fluid. And that will keep happening. And that's the medicine working inside you. And it's a very visceral, physical, messy, sloppy affair, which is okay with me. That's the toad has shown me that healing is messy business. I have come up from the prayer mat and looked at it and told Eric, said, I feel like this should be covered in blood and guts. And Eric said, it is. And I knew what he meant. This is my blood and guts. This is my purging, my healing, my rejuvenation, my death. All that's real because it's happening in the soul. So there doesn't need to be any blood and pus coming out. It's the soul that we're working on here. That's the scariest part. And that's the rewarding part because I didn't know I had one. Now, oh, it's it's a religion. It's the kind of religion where you don't have to talk. You don't need anybody else. There's no church, there's no book. It's just you in the dark room, sitting there in silence with your religion, which is yourself, which is this power, which is this engineered pleasure. It's all for you. You can feel as good as possible all the time, and you can come back to it when that's not available because this whole experience is a fluid exchange from one scenario to the next, from one circumstance to the next, from these words that we have: good, bad, scary, pleasant, hot, cold, soft, hard. It's just this never ending flow, and it's temporary. And when you're done, it's bliss and it's home. You go home. You're just going home. And this home, you know, this home because it's where you came from. Can you remember what it was like to be a happy child? Can you really get into that space? I can remember being sitting on the carpet in the living room playing with my toy cars and feeling the pleasure. I can remember it. I can remember just laying on my back. There was some kind of lines carved into the ceiling, some kind of old effect, plaster or whatever. And I would just close one eye and extend one index finger and just match those lines as the shadows came in from the window. There was no sound except maybe my mother walking into the kitchen, and I was just floating. And then the noise came in, the cars, the school, the shouting, the angry looks, the teachers, the discipline, the rules, and the friends who wanted to break rules and laughed about it, and this flood of things are happening. I'm no longer allowed to just bask in the joy here. Now I'm thrown into the maelstrom of our society. And of course I'm going to make mistakes. And I see all of my decisions logically going back to this desire for peace. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I didn't really envy anyone else. I just really just wanted to be left alone. That's- and that ain't how it works. So I give myself a lot of latitude there. That's all right, man. Now I wish I don't wish. Things could have gone different. And I think I could have given more joy to my mother before she passed. That That would have been nice. And I don't really know the joy I did give to her because all the things that seemed terrible, they may not have looked the same to her. She really saw me when she gave birth to me as what I was, what I am. So, and the toad has shown me that this death is it's a veneer. That's how substantial it is. She's here. I'm not concerned about her, and she can see my joy. I came out of the medicine after she died, and there was a few extremely difficult ceremonies, and I came out of the last one victorious. I made it. I didn't know what I had achieved. I knew it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I knew I was proud of myself. I knew I was relieved. I knew I was lighter in both senses of that word. I was lighter. And I knew that was permanent. This was a very significant thing that I couldn't put into any words. And I came out and I'm rolling around and I'm starting to breathe. And Chad facilitates in Colorado when Eric comes, and he's just a wonderful, loving man. He's like a helper. And I've gotten close with him over the years. And I came out and I saw him, and I said, I miss my mom. And he kind of nodded, and he knew the whole story. She had recently passed. And I said, I cried a little bit. And I said, I wish she could see this. I wish she would have lived long enough to see me now. And he quickly shot back with, she can. She's here, with his arms up. And I started crying like a little baby because I knew he was right. I felt it. This these things that I know now, I will often say I don't know anything. There isn't anything to know. That's true, but there's also a contradiction, just like there always is in everything that we acknowledge in this world. There's another side of the coin. And the other side of that coin is when you accept your true nature, you know things. Things that can't be unknown anymore, things that don't need to be studied or remembered. These things are burned into your soul. And that was one of them. There really is no barrier between life and death. We just can't see it from where we are. There's a lot we can't see. We can't even see the colors that the bumblebees see. I mean, we are miraculous creatures on one hand. On the other hand, we're pretty limited at silly, ignorant things stumbling around. Compare us to the natural world. We're weak. We're vulnerable. We're slow. We're clumsy. We're unable to find comfort in nature. I mean, we are outgunned by the living creatures around us from the smallest to the largest at every turn. And I think we should acknowledge that. And I think we should look a little closer at these creatures, these nature documentaries that we have. It's, and the TVs that we have. It's so amazing. I grew up with, we had no TV, then we had three channels. My dad didn't like the looks of the antenna, so he put it in the attic. He didn't want the antenna on the top of the roof. So we didn't have any channels come in. We just had the snow and we could hear the audio. And it always pissed me off, even as an older man, that he would do that because he was never there. You know, it was about him, the position of that antenna, not about my mother having to be there and take care of us by herself all the time, always in these rural locations. But even in those days, Jacques Cousteau was a guy, and there would be on Saturday, there would be a special thing about him going down to Marianas Trench, the deepest part of the sea, and he's going in a submersible. And This is the guy who invented the scuba gear, and he loved nature, and loved exploring, and he wanted to bring this to the world, just like Carl Sagan wanted to bring the cosmos to the world, just like the crocodile hunter Steve Irwin wanted to bring Australia's natural world to the world. Mr. Rogers wanted to bring being a good grown up to the world of the children. These are special people in my universe. And seeing Jacques Cousteau really lit me on fire. And I said, I wonder how this is going to play out in my life. And now we can have a TV the size of the room with this clarity, like you're actually there. And I don't know how they're making these movies. I mean, the camera angles and the shots, it's, oh, I'm so grateful that it exists. And one of my favorite things is the ocean world and the size and the power of the creatures there. You have something like the elephant seal, which is one of the largest creatures on Earth. And it can move around on land and they fight. The beach masters have to fight for their territory. It's a bloody affair and it's wicked. It is wicked to see those creatures. But my favorite is the orca. And when they get a close up of this animal with this skin that is so taut around this 10,000-pound animal and so sleek that it moves without effort and that it can launch itself into the air 10, 20 feet up and and slide back into the water. It is the apex predator of planet Earth, if there is such a thing. That's it. A great white shark has no chance against an orca. It's it's not even a fight. They bully other animals. They torture them to death. Small penguins, great white sharks. They go after blue whales to take the calf, the newborn calf, away and drown it violently and eat its tongue and then let it rot in front of the wailing mother. There's no good or bad in this flow of things that's happening, but there's an order and there's a power and there's a beauty. And that's in you, this order and this power and this beauty. And it comes out in the toad. The toad is showing you this is what you really are. This is where you really are. And this is what's happening around you right now. And you come out and you look at the ground and it's pulsating, it's breathing, it's alive. You're not tripping your balls off like you're on an LSD trip. You see it for real. You see into the stone. You see differently and you feel differently. The gratitude comes from realizing there's nothing to do. If you can accept this beauty and this intensity, which is not easy to do, the levels of intensity I'm talking about cannot be described and they cannot be encountered in any other way. You will never feel anything like this again. It will most likely be unpleasant. There might be moments where you have every emotion that exists occurring at the exact same time, and you just don't know what to do about it. But the realization when you come out and it starts to make a little sense, not in the, oh, I know where I was, I figured this out. No, no, no. More like, I'm okay. I'm really okay. I'm okay. in a way that I will never not be okay again. Because all this is a river of things occurring, and I am the permanence in it. I'm here to play. I'm here to roll around in it, mix it up, have fun, take a noble pursuit. Fine. Go save the world, save the poor, whatever. It's fine. Do what feels good. When we see a genius, we have schools to train geniuses. How does that work out? It doesn't. And some kid is born and he sits down at the piano and he is a genius. He's not making an effort. There's this notion that we should work harder. That is coming from the people who need you to do their work. That is not a noble pursuit for humanity. That does you know well, knows you know good. I try to work as little as possible. It is the reason I succeed because I find the easiest way to do things. There's nothing special. I'm not a billionaire or an innovator or I don't care. There's no labels attached to what I do. I survive, I make money, I pay taxes, I have pursuits. They're fun to me. Who cares? It's really irrelevant. It's what I'm doing with this body and this energy that I have because when I come out of the medicine, it's all mine. I'm not in the way of it anymore. That's why I'm grateful. It allowed me to shut the fuck up. It gave me this life back that I had gotten lost in. And I think we're all lost. I think that is the human condition is to be lost and to not believe that you're this permanence here. You're this immortal God. You are fine no matter what. Somebody breaks into your house and chops your head off. You're still fine. Believe me, you're not complaining. You are perfectly at peace. You're home. And what is the significance? Well, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's say we check back in. They broke into your house, they chopped your head off. Let's revisit this in 500 years. What are the consequences? What are the ramifications? How many people are still crying about it? Let's make it 1,000 years. Let's make it 50,000 years. Well, why not? Science tells us that everything's been going on for billions and billions of years. What's 50,000? It's nothing. You get a little window to participate, but you can't whine about it not going your way, especially if you've fabricated so much of a notion of yourself that you can't even see what's available to you anymore. You only see what you want, what's not fair, what's wrong, what's just, what you deserve, what they deserve. I mean, who gives a shit? Get over yourself and breathe and welcome to this magic. There's all kinds of things available for you. You don't even know what you want. You don't even know what you're afraid of yet. That's why you can't get anywhere. That's why it doesn't work out. Think about being in a position where it all works out for you. Think about how far away that is from right now. Now, consider what's going to be involved in getting there. This is not going to be, I take a hit of LSD on a Saturday and I stare at the ceiling and listen to music and I'm cured. That's not how it works. You're a mess. You need to be dealt with a heavy hand, with heavy medicine. If you're anything like me, that's the only way. There is no other way. You certainly can't get it from listening to me. I don't even care if you get it. I'm happy. You can't take anything from me. I'm not giving it to you. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't care. I wish you the best, but it has no effect on me at all. This is this is our life. This is our opportunity. This is our magic. This is our moment. And you can squander it. And you can worry about other people squandering theirs. And you can just cough up all this immortality and waste this power and this energy and give it away and surrender it and feel sorry for yourself. You can do all those things and it's not going to matter. You're still going to go home. You're still going to find bliss. And you probably will have at your last breath this code like experience of getting it squeezed out of you. You will have to acknowledge this reality. You can't get to the next place without acknowledging because you can't take any of this with you. And I don't mean the gold and the diamonds. I mean your perspective, your mind isn't going to fit through that pearl, which is the gate. That's the pearly gate. It's not a gate decorated with pearls. It's a single pearl. That's what you have to fit through. The Bible tells you, if you, I mean, you're an American, it's 2025, you must believe in the Jesus the King, right? So he said that's how you get to his father's house. You can't take your mindset in that pearl. Ancient Egyptians had the same notion. This is across every dynasty and civilization we know. This is how you get judged at death. The ancient Egyptians had your soul was weighed against a feather on a balanced scale. If your soul was heavier than the feather, you're too big to get in. This size, this weight, there's a reason why this is a recurring theme because that's what you're giving. You're carrying weight. You're constructing a fabrication and an illusion, and you're maintaining it, and you're walking it around. It's on your back, and that's why your back's hunched over, and that's why your hips hurt and your knees hurt, and that's why you waddle when you walk, and that's why you're weak and brittle because you're carrying literal weight. You cannot carry that into bliss. That's the opposite of bliss. That's preventing the bliss. So you can do it at the end. That's okay. Everybody does. Or you can decide that there's more to it. I want to have fun with this. I want to get into this. I want to enjoy this. I want to be ready for that transition. I want to prepare for it right now because it feels good. It feels right. It's the truth. There's no noise. No one can tell me anything anymore. I'm dying. I know it, and you know it. So there's no point in talking about it. I'm getting ready for it. And this decision to spend my life getting ready for it makes me grateful for every moment I have here. I'm always aware that it's going to go away, that I have to let go, that it's not real. I wish it was real. I do. It would be comfortable. I could just curl up into it and know it'll be here forever. That would be nice. That is not reality. Reality is the orca separating the newborn calf from the mother and torturing it to death and eating its tongue and swimming away laughing. That's where we are. Your opinion on that has no consequence. Doesn't mean you have to be an aggressive, predatory asshole. It's just important that you understand when you're the victim of injustice, that's life. That's where we are. Be grateful that that's the order in this place because it's perfect. And there's just as much joy available as there is horror. They're kind of the same thing when you stop attaching labels to them, and you can appreciate them for what they are, and you can watch what happens after they occur, which we often lose sight of. What comes after the darkness? What comes after the pain? It just keeps flowing. It keeps coming. And you get into the rhythm of it, and you get into the appreciation for it. And now your back is straight. Your chin is up, and you're happy, and you're excited for whatever's coming, and you're ready for it, and you're grateful.